This brief video will walk you through how to play the homeless system simulation. It is important to listen to the video and not begin to do anything while the video is running. Your instructor will pause the video when it's time for you to do something. The simulation comes with several game boards. The first step is to identify who on your team will be the scorekeeper. This person will then take out the game boards and hand them out to participants in the order on the screen. Your instructor will pause the video now to allow you to do so. Each game board has corresponding cards held together by rings. In addition, there's a set of system event cards also held together by rings. The player with the scoreboard should receive the system event cards. All other sets of cards are clearly marked to go with each game board. The instructor will pause the video now and allow you to hand out cards to each player. Each table should have 2 bins placed in the center, one for market housing and one for unsheltered homelessness. Each table should also have a bag with several smaller bags full of beads. Locate the bag labeled Game Startup Beads. Each game board, except Intake and the Scorekeeper, has a number on the bottom left-hand corner explaining how many red and clear beads they should place on their board from the startup bead bag. Norm will place 1 bead in each of the boxes on the board. You may place them either horizontally or vertically. The red and clear beads can be placed in any order, and you may have some empty slots. Your instructor will pause the video now while each player places your startup beads on your board following the instructions on the bottom left-hand corner of your board. We will demonstrate how the game is played by showing you a portion of the first round. Each round begins when the scorekeeper reading aloud the system event card. Next, each player will read their round 1 cards to themselves. After reading their card, each player will then take their turns one at a time, starting with Intake. Game cards have 2 sections, program rules and exits. For example, the Intake card for round 1 has 1 program rule which says to take round 1 beads and spread them evenly across your columns except the diversion column. To do this, K, with the Intake board, takes the bead bag labeled round 1 and spreads all of the beads roughly even across the columns. The gray column labeled diversion should be left empty. The Intake card also has 3 exit instructions. The first exit instruction is to exit column D to emergency shelter if there are free slots. K, with the Intake board, talks to Norm with the emergency shelter board to determine how many slots are available. Norm checks the program rules on his card to make sure he can accept these beads. Norm places them in the empty slots on the emergency shelter board. Norm only has 5 open slots in emergency shelter, which means K won't be able to send all of the beads from column D to emergency shelter. The second exit instruction is simple. It says to exit column E to unsheltered homelessness. K takes all of the beads in column E and places them in the unsheltered homelessness bin. The third exit instruction is to exit the rest to wherever there is space. If there is no space, move to unsheltered homelessness. After reading this instruction, K checks with all of the other players at the table to see if any programs have free slots. It is important for the rest of the players to look at their game cards to make sure their program rules allow them to accept these beads. After all the available slots on the game board at the table are filled, K places the rest of the beads into the unsheltered homelessness bin. The next player in line is emergency shelter. Their game card says to exit 1.5 columns to market housing. But the card also has a program rule that says do not exit red beads to market housing. Norm takes the clear beads in these columns and puts them in the market housing bin, leaving the red beads. The next instruction for emergency shelter is to exit 1.5 columns to unsheltered homelessness. Norm moves these beads, including the red beads, to unsheltered homelessness. If your game board has an uneven number of slots in a column, do not split a slot in half, but use your judgment about how many beads constitute half of the column. The last instruction for emergency shelter is to exit remaining beads to wherever there is space. Unfortunately, there is no space left on any other game board, so Norm leaves the rest of the beads on his board. The next player is rapid rehousing. The first exit instruction is to exit 3 columns to market housing, which you can see Jennifer doing here, and exit 1 column to emergency shelter. But if there is no space in emergency shelter, then those beads go to unsheltered homelessness. The Outreach board has unique instructions. Outreach does not accept beads from other programs, even if there are slots available. All slots for the Outreach board must be filled with beads from the unsheltered homelessness bin for each round. After each player has taken their turn, the round ends with the scorekeeper recording the number of beads remaining in emergency shelter and transitional housing. The number of beads in the unsheltered and market housing bins is counted only at the very end of the game. Now we will explain what options the system event cards give your table. There are 3 kinds of system events: adding a program, opening the diversion column, and converting a program. When the system event card gives your table these options, you will have a limited amount of time to decide. If your table fails to decide on a change during this time, by consensus, you forfeit the opportunity. To add a program, give the game board marked Extra to the person who is currently managing that program type. This table has decided to add a new rapid rehousing program, so they give the extra board to Jennifer, who is running the rapid rehousing program. The next time it's Jennifer's turn, she will use these extra 20 slots. When a program is added, regardless of the program type, it adds 20 more slots to that type. You cannot add an intake program. If your group chooses to open that diversion column, for the remaining rounds, the intake player now spreads the beads out roughly even on the intake board, utilizing the gray column marked diversion. To convert a program, cross out the old name on the game board and write in the new name. This table decided to convert transitional housing into rapid rehousing. Anna crosses out transitional housing on her board and writes in rapid rehousing. The number of slots will stay the same, and the beads currently in the program will remain. During the following rounds, when Jennifer reads the cards for rapid rehousing, Anna will play along to the same instructions. This simulation is obviously a very simplified version of how homelessness assistance works. However, it was designed using actual data for outcomes of programs in different communities across the country. As you play, think about how it is similar and different from homelessness assistance in your community. Your facilitator will now start the game.